Going right into it, the writing of this movie is really good. They really well written story. When I saw commercials for this movie, I was really unsure what to expect. I thought that this might be a decent movie, but it's a movie about road rage. I didn't see a whole lot of commercials for this movie, so and I'm actually thankful. I saw a commercial recently after seeing the film, and the commercial gave away a lot. And I'm glad that I didn't see that commercial before I watched the movie, because I was really surprised and pleasantly surprised by a lot of the writing, about the direction of the film, and what happened. And like I said, when I first saw commercials, I thought, this is not going to be a great movie, maybe okay, kind of suspenseful thriller type movie. But then I saw Russell Crowe's name attached to it, and that's what really set it apart for me, because without Russell Crowe, you take Russell Crowe out of this movie and you see this commercial, and this is a B film at best. It's a film about road rage, and there's no huge name actors in it. But then you add Russell Crowe, and it's like, okay, Russell Crowe is an Academy Award-winning actor. Granted, he hasn't done a whole lot of movies recently, but still, when he does a movie, it's a good movie. I remember Nice Guys just a few years ago came out with Ryan Gosling, and that movie was really good too. So that's what got me thinking, and I decided to watch this movie, and I got to tell you, I was pleasantly surprised. First thing that I really noticed about this movie is that the whole thing takes place in broad daylight. If you were to sit down and watch this movie, and the whole thing were to take place at night, you would know it was a horror movie. Like, this man is on a killing spree, and it's definitely a horror movie because it takes place in the daylight. It kind of throws you for a loop. It loses that horror movie feel, but still has a lot of horror movie elements. And I think that's why it gets the thriller tag a little bit more. It doesn't have any big twists. It's not. It's a little psychological, a lot of it, but there are some brutal scenes that you would only find typically in a horror movie. And speaking of that, Russell Crowe in this movie, he really embodies this unhinged, this guy who's just kind of lost it. He's just snapped. He snapped a little. And I think the fact that Russell Crowe has gained so much weight actually lends itself to this movie and works in the movie's favor. Russell Crowe, he looks like such an everyman. He's not the gladiator anymore that we saw several years ago. This isn't cut, ripped, young Russell Crowe. This is an older, weightier Russell Crowe. He looks like anyone's dad, or he could be anybody. He really finds this role and does really well with it. And because he looks so average every day, it adds just a little bit more of an edge to the movie, because it really can be. The tagline for this movie is "He could happen to anyone." It really does feel that way, because Russell Crowe looks like anyone. And man, does he capture it. He is, man, psychologically, you can tell this man is just, he's just lost it. And Russell Crowe does an excellent job acting in this movie. Starting at the beginning, not to get into too many spoilers here, Russell Crowe is he's at what is clearly what used to be his house. There's a sign out front that says the house has been sold. He's in there. He takes his wedding ring off, and he kind of throws it in the back seat. He's flicking a match. You can tell this guy he's really struggling. But then he decides, he kicks his door open, and then he walks to the house with a can of gasoline and a hammer, a really big claw hammer, and you just know that it's about to go down. And sure enough, he kicks the door open. A man and a woman run out. I won't get into too much detail, but essentially he burns the house down. And from there, you lose out on Russell Crowe, and you go to the main character of the story, this woman and her son. And basically what you get from this woman is this woman just doesn't really have it all together. She oversleeps. You can tell by the way her son speaks that she has a habit of not getting places on time. A client calls her at one point in the movie, and you get the idea that this is a frequent thing. I appreciate that not everything is stated outright. Like, you don't know outright that Russell Crowe's wife cheated on him, but it's heavily implied that she did. And who knows, from this man's point of view, with all the issues that he has, he may not even know that she did. He may have just invented this lie in his head as some way to kind of cope with the fact that he was getting a divorce. So you don't really know, but you get the idea that he believes that his wife cheated on him, that he was treated unfairly at the very least. And a lot of things in this movie, you get the idea, but it's not expressly said out loud, and I appreciate that. it really brings an element of realness to the film, to where, everyday life, we don't have everyone's backstory. Everyone that we run into, we don't know every single little detail about them. And movies have a really bad habit of just throwing things out there for exposition purpose. They just, they will just go out of their way to say things that people wouldn't necessarily really say in everyday life. And they do that for the benefit of the audience so that you know what's going on. But not in this movie. In this movie, it lets you draw your own conclusions about a lot of things. In horror movies, it's so typical for you to think, well, why don't they call the cops here? Why don't they run here? Why don't they drive here? Why don't they make this decision now? And this movie does a really good job of either A, giving the main character a good reason why not to make those decisions, or B, she does make those decisions. There are times when she does call the cops and that the cops are aware. There's even one point when Russell Crowe is caught by a cop, but is able to slip away. And so I really appreciate that. There were a few instances where you might be, well, I might have done that a little bit differently, but not near to the level that you typically see often in horror movies, which is I really appreciated. Long story short, guys, I think Unhinged is well worth the price of admission in a theater. Go check it out if you hadn't seen it. I know a lot of people still haven't gotten out. A lot of people still aren't seeing movies right now. If you feel safe enough, go out there, go see a movie, and I recommend Unhinged. I went into this movie after seeing the commercials. I figured this would be a somewhere around a 70 out of 100, maybe a 75. This movie was better than I expected. It was well written. It wasn't a perfect film, but it really did a good job with the psychological thriller element. I'm giving this one an 84 out of 100. With that being said and that out of the way, this is a brand new channel. I'm asking anybody who sees this to please drop a like on it. Please go down and mention something in the comments. Say something maybe you want me to review. Letting you guys know that this channel will not only be doing movie reviews, but maybe video games, maybe food, maybe things going on in pop culture, anything really that I want to do. I'm gonna review. I'm gonna talk about. There's no telling really what we might get into, but it helps me out a lot if you guys will share this. The more people that see it, the more subscribers I can get. That'll really help my channel out a ton. I really appreciate you watching. And hey, if you've seen Unhinged and you didn't like it or you disagreed with my take on it, don't get mad. Remember, it's just one man's opinion. Thanks.